Hello, Julie Reynolds. How are you?
Morning. It is morning, isn't it? I'm absolutely fine.
Excellent.
I've slept more than 2 hours last night, so that's a big thumbs up from me.
Oh God, happy days. I mean, we'll probably talk about your sleep situation, Julie, because we're not a minute. And I'm over the moon, right? Because the first time we chatted face to face, I came to your house. We absolutely talk about, by the way, because how can we not? And like how we kind of connected over social media has been really, really important and fascinating. Just a lovely experience. So I'm over the moon that you've come on. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've got my purple t-shirt on today because I know you like the colour purple as well. So I thought wear that special. So Julie, let's just talk about and let's just start this conversation with. Tell the world about the wonderful Julie and what you do.
Oh, I'll give you one of my intros like I do on a Follow Friday. Yeah? I'm almost 50, but I certainly don't look it. I have got hair like a cross between Marge Simpson and Elvira. I wear black clothes because it matches my personality and dark humour. No, really. I wear black because it goes with everything and I love it. I live in Sacriston, have done all my life for me sins, and I'm married and have been married now for, God, 27 years coming up to Stephen, my lovely husband, who's my godsend. I've got 2 grown-up kids who are both primary school teachers and who are both still at home because apparently it's cheaper. I'm a crazy dog mother. I've got my best mate Lizzie, who's a lurcher, who's 4. I'm also a guinea pig fanatic and I have 2 drag queen named guinea pigs called Jinx Monsoon and Bianca Del Rio. We also have a hamster called Trixie Mattel. That's another story. I'm a bit I love talking, I love being friendly, but I'm also agoraphobic, so it's a bit of a downside to that. But it's all, I'm just very much bubbly, friendly, as long as I don't have to leave the house.
Exactly. And yeah, you've talked about an amazing bunch of characters that you live with there.
Yes.
Like I've seen your where you work. We're going to get onto like your business as well, like your workspace. And is that where you're at now at the minute?
I am, yeah.
So just describe to us what's around you, because I've seen it and it's fascinating.
I'd often describe it like, if you're old like me, you'll remember Blue Peter's Bring and Buy sales from the late 70s, where they used to put all of this stuff in one room and it was just all kinds of things. And that's basically my workroom. It is half the room is guinea pigs and hamsters, and the other half of the room is my stuff. And it's I have all of me things, all of my like supplies for making in little flowery suitcases, all packed up on shelves in front of us. There's little pots that I've painted with me coloured pencils, me paint brushes, bamboo sticks. It's all very not what you would expect somebody with black hair and black clothes to look like. It's very floral and light. All over the walls are positive motivational quotes that I've collected over the years, and the walls, it's like a gallery wall all the way around the room. My daughter says they're dead cheesy, but I like it. And it's like all like, so everywhere I look at something positive. It's just a lovely uplifting place for me. It's very me. It's like all over the place, in your face, quite noisy, but also quite gentle. I think it does really reflect me.
So lasses who are listening, I've seen it, and all I can describe it as is what's the best words, Julie? A haberdashery of magic. That's what I'm going to say. A haberdashery of magic. And I think it totally emulates your business where you.
Oh.
So tell everyone about your business or businesses.
Like, should I say what about when I started it, etc., or
what do you do? What is it that you do?
Right. First of all, I make little trinkets I describe it as magical frippery. Things that you didn't realize that you'd need, and then you see them and you want them. I make sentimental, magic-y, like anything to do with fantasy, the woods, woodland, British woodland, magic, folklore. That's all I've always been fascinated with that. So I make things that I get in my head and think, oh, I'd like to see something like that. So like little bottles with sort of spells in them, little mushrooms, toadstools, fairy doors, all that sort of thing. But I deliberately try to make them as different as I can to anything else that I've seen. And the other part of my business, like, sort of was born from it. And it's actually the biggest part of my business now. It's my Pixie people frames, and I make miniature portraits of people and their pets. And the devil's in the detail with them, really, because I really go to the nth degree personalizing them. Yeah.
Well, oh gosh, how pretty. That's the kind of the magical folklore fantasy.
Yeah, it is.
It's Pixie people frames, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I got that right, because I've said it wrong before.
You're totally right. Yeah. It's, oh gosh, how pretty. And Pixie people frames comes under the umbrella of that, but it's a separate, because it's different. I wanted to sort of like make it separate but still together, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So that's a very niche market, isn't it, Julie? That you
completely. Mm-hmm.
How did you find the way to kind of tap into that kind of market? What did you do?
Well, being a little girl, I spent my childhood outside in the woods, in among bluebells and stuff like that, and climbing trees. And I've always had a very overactive imagination. Well, people told us it was overactive, but I now realise it wasn't. It's just a creative imagination. Yeah. And but I would have been lost without it in my childhood. And I've always loved fairies and things like that. And from being very young, I realised I could make things, like the wax on the Baby Bell cheese.
Yeah, yeah.
I used to make things out of that, like, anything. I was never allowed paints or clay or anything at home, but my grandma and granddad would let us go wild in their kitchen, and I'd make all sorts out with flour and water. That's how I started, and then paper mache. But I've always made things. If I got an idea about something, I wanted to try to make it. I've done things over the years like salt dough, all kinds. And then when Sally was little, that's my daughter, she was having a bit of a worrying time at school. And so I made her a worry fairy, right. And just a tiny, weeny little one, like the ones that I sell in the jars now. And she took it to school and showed her friends, and they all wanted one. So I'd made them all for them to tell you what you told the fairy, what you were worried about, and she did her magic and sorted it out. And it really came from there. I always made little fairies. And then when I had to give up on work, I was bored, and it was Sally actually had said, why don't you sit and make things again, Mum, because you enjoy doing that. And so I got the stuff out, because I've always had creative things in the house, and put them on Facebook, and then people were saying, oh, I'll buy those off you. And then I've got a very good friend of mine, Denise, she dragged us out to do craft fairs with her, and it sort of started from there.
Great. What a fascinating story, though, that's just a little part of your business, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So you did touch on it a little bit there, Julie, about when you left work. And I think part of the lounge is like how we've created a space where people are open to like explaining really challenging situations they've gone through. And I'd love you to talk through that time in your life that drove you to such a huge career change.
Yeah. Well, originally, when I first left sixth form at school, all I ever wanted to do was be a nurse. My mum was very ill when I was small, and that had, I think it had a big influence on my career path. I've always been, even as a little person, I was always very caring and wanting to make sure everybody else was all right before myself. And that's been a trait right through my life. So I went to nursing college straight from school when I just turned 19, and I trained as a staff nurse and loved it, and worked in nursing until Joe was about 5. I had a breakdown when my grandma died. I was very close to both sets of grandparents, and when the last surviving grandparent passed away, I had a breakdown. I've struggled with my mental health since diagnosed at 17, but I've since learned, going back to when I was about 9, when my mum was poorly. And it was, it was a case of like, right, okay, I feel a bit of a crossroads. I'm a bit lost. What do I do now? And because I love kids, and Joe was just starting school at that point, it's my son. And I'd actually considered going and doing health visitor training. And I realized it was actually, I was interested in like education with kids. I'd done quite a bit of education within like practice nurse role with children. And I thought, well, do you know what? I read into it, looked into it. I thought, I would really be interested in training to be a teacher. So as you do, of course, you change your career around. Husband dead supportive. And I went to university at Northumbria and did an early years specialism in primary education, qualified as a teacher. So that's 2 qualifications under my belt. And after a couple of years in my role as an early years teacher, my job was no longer available to me because I had mental health issues, basically. It was a difficult time. My mental health had nothing to do with my performance, but when the head teacher realised that I had mental health issues, her option was to get me out of the school. Mm-hmm. And I subsequently had a really terrible breakdown after that. And it's only recently that I've been able to talk about it without actually crying. It does choke us up thinking about it, because I just felt completely useless, that I'd wasted 5 years, 3 years at university and then 2 years in my job. I felt like, God, is this what people must think of me because I suffer with my mental health? And it destroyed me. I obviously had 2 kids at home. We had a mortgage, I had the car, and that was a complete loss of my wage as well as my self-esteem. And I found it really hard telling people, actually, I haven't got a job to go to. I didn't feel like I could apply for other jobs because I didn't think I would be able to get a reference. And there was nothing it was sold to me, oh, well, we can't keep you, Julie, because the budget doesn't allow it. But that was not the truth at all. And I did find that out later on. And I do know that head teacher did that out of complete, like, just wanting a shot at me because of mental health issues, which is a terrible thing to happen to anybody. But what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And out of that, I was able to pull on all of my past experience as a nurse, as a teacher, as somebody who cares about other people. And something that really came out of that was that I never want anybody to ever feel that alone the way I did, ever. So I decided that I would start being more vocal about my mental illness, speaking out about it, and saying to people, it's okay. You're actually not somebody who should be kept behind a locked door just because your brain chemistry is different to other people's. And that's something that I felt very passionate about. It took us a long time to get to that stage because this was 12 years ago now.
Did you know, Julie? Because I think this is something that people say, and I've certainly struggled when I was impacted massively with social media when I first started working on it years ago. And I don't think I knew at the time that what I was going through was a breakdown. I didn't know. Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't know what the answer is, and they're feeling this feeling. So, like, how did you realise it was a breakdown? Was people telling you you're having a breakdown? What happened?
Well, the first time it happened to me, when I was 30, when my grandma died, I was saying, it was weird, because I went from just being ordinarily busy doing this, that, and the other, to being somebody who could not switch off. And
we know.
You know, I've told you this before, Mr. Platespinner. That was probably the first conversations I had with you, as I messaged you and said, speaking from experience. I just all of a sudden was like, I was working. I was a practice nurse. I had 2 children. I had a house to run. I did my, I had, as I say, my job, and I also was a Weight Watchers leader. That's something else I did. I did that as well, and I never had I never had downtime. I just went from boom, 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 boom to everything. And then when my grandma passed away, it was like bang, and I couldn't do any of it. And I couldn't motivate myself to do anything. And I'd gone to the GP, and because I'd ended up so run down, I had a chest infection and I was really unwell. And it was the GP had said, do you think, Julie, that you're struggling with losing your grandma? And I was like, yes, definitely. And because I've had like depressive episodes right the way back into my childhood, he'd referred me, and had like community support from the mental health team. And that was my first real insight into having a breakdown as such. And it was strange, because it was different that time, because I had the kids, they were small, so I had other things to do, like taking Sally to school. She was, how old was she at the time? She'd be about year 1, I think. Joe was actually ill as well at the time. He was poorly. They thought he might have had cystic fibrosis, just to throw everything else into the mix. But I was like going through the motions of doing things, but I wasn't there, if you know what I mean. Yeah. But the second time, in 2010, when I had the breakdown, I actually physically stopped as well as mentally. Couldn't get out of bed. Right. It was like a complete shutdown. The second time was much worse. Yeah, very strange. And I'm very fortunate that my husband is he's absolutely amazing, and he's very switched on and very in tune with me, and he can tell if I'm not well at the blink of an eye. And if it hadn't been for Stephen pushing for support, I don't know what I would have done, because it's very difficult to access a lot of mental health care. And he basically was ringing people up and like saying, look, I need something done. We need something done. And I actually can't remember a lot of the early stages the second time, because I was so bad. But I know it was bad, but I can't actually recall that, because I was so out of it. It was awful time.
I can totally resonate with it, and I've had to put very, very strict steps in place, because I work on social media, and that's what caused it in the first place, because I didn't understand what I was doing. I had no support like I have in the lounge. I had no team around us, and it was kind of flinging stuff. As you know, it gets overwhelming and noisy, and you don't know what you're doing. So I have to put very strict practical strategies in place, which Julie. So is there anything you do, and this will help people listening who are possibly going through something similar, or have seen somebody what do you do now if you start to recognize something?
I start to feel overwhelmed, I know I have to take a step back. Right. There's no inputs or coconuts, I've got to. Yeah. And one of the first things I do is I look and think, what has to be done, and what can be put to the side. What has to be done is I have to look after myself first, because if I can't look after myself, I can't look after anybody else. Yeah. And even though I don't have anybody who's sort of dependent on me, because everybody's adults that lives in the house with us, they still need me emotionally, because that's, as a mother, that's something that's really important to me. So I'll take a step back and I'll do what's necessary. And that's getting up on a morning, getting dressed, getting washed, taking care of myself, taking care of my little dog, and being here for Stephen and the kids. and the rest, well, that'll get done when it gets done. And that is really important. And because I have my own little business, I'm able to do that. That's my safety net. And I'm very careful about when, like, orders, etc., balancing things so that I don't become overwhelmed with everything. But that is the first thing. Step back and just do what is necessary, and the rest will follow in its own time.
That is so powerful, because you've seen in the community, Julie, how many lasses are saying, I can't take time off. I can't step away from it. Like, I make sure I take chunks of time off, a week off here and there, and it doesn't all fall apart, does it?
Not at all. And I find, like, particularly with social media, I'm honest, if I've been, I mean, you know, I lost my old dog at the end of March. And some people thinking, but she was 13 and a half, and from being at home unwell, Jenny had been there the whole time, and it's been a massive, massive thing losing her. And I completely disappeared from social media for a while, but because I couldn't be, it was just another stick to beat myself with. So I thought, no, that has to shelf at the minute. And I'm honest about it. When I say to people, I'm sorry, I've been absent without leave. You know, this happened. And I think people do appreciate that, don't they? When you just say, this is how it is, you know, and I haven't gone anywhere. I'm still here, but I've just been a bit off the radar.
It doesn't fall apart, lasses. Listen.
Nah, not at all. Not at all.
So, Julie, how do you take this creativity and these ideas that you talked about many years ago from just making things, and how do you turn it into a viable business? What steps did you take?
Well, I'm dead proud of this without blowing my own trumpet. I started this business with nothing, and I mean nothing. I didn't have any startup. I didn't have any sort of idea of it becoming a business. But what I thought was, I'll get something, I'll make something from it, I'll sell that, and then I'll reinvest that little bit of money. And that is basically what I did. I think I bought some blank fairy doors and some wire. I made the fairies with my wire and tissue paper, painted and decorated the fairy doors, wrote a little like piece of literature to go with them, and sold them. And then with the money that I got, I bought more and basically built it up. What I knew that I didn't want to make, as I've said before, anything that like anybody else made. So I looked at what I don't. I look at what. That's great to hear, because that's how I want to be. I've got this like big issue about copyright and stealing ideas and things like that. I really don't like it, and I think that, you know, if you can't create, you know, make your own way in the world, you shouldn't be jumping on somebody else's coattails, you know, with regard to creativity. You know, everybody's capable of making something, and what you make should be unique because there's only one you. So why should you be trying to make somebody else's, like a copy of somebody else's stuff?
Have you had any copycats, but out of interest?
I have had. I once found somebody using my literature, because as I say, I write all of the daft little bits that go with me stuff.
They're daft though, but they're important, and that's what makes it unique.
Absolutely. Yes, I found somebody using one of my that actually photocopied it and put it on their fairy doors. I thought, here? In a way, it was quite flattering that they thought it was good enough to use. And I just dropped them a message and said, you do realise that's my intellectual property, and I could actually take this further if I wanted to. I'd just prefer that you just didn't use it. Please write your own. And they did, and stopped it. But that's all I've had so far.
And what you said there is something that I have used, but it still gets you. It's like, it is a compliment, right? It's like with the training that I do, people could just go and lift and drop it, right? It is a compliment, but they're not us, are they? They're not us. That's the key behind it. When you were consistently shown like who you are and just being yourself and being authentic, like, and I know people are like, oh, stop going on about it being authentic. It's just being natural and being you, isn't it? That's the difference. It is.
Yeah. You don't have to create a false persona. I know you're really big on this. because your unique selling point is yourself. And what you've got to do is like harness yourself, haven't you? And like I consider when I make things, I have put a part of myself into that.
Yeah.
You know, that's what makes them unique.
Yeah, it is. So we have talked a little bit about social media. Where's your favourite platform?
It's definitely Facebook.
Yeah. Pages, groups, because tell us about those, what you've got set up at the minute.
My Facebook page is all right. I think it's all right. Well,
somebody who agrees Facebook pages still work.
I mean, I get canny views, and as I said, sometimes I go missing from the page, but I have people who are loyal to me and are still there. I do love my page because it's been there from the very start. Both, I have two pages, like one for Oh Gosh How Pretty on its own and one for Pixie Paper Frames, and they're both canny. But I love Facebook because I suppose I'm a bit of a granny. Instagrams, I don't think I'm cool enough and down with the kids for Instagram. I'm a bit of an embarrassment to my kids, I think. When I'd said to them I'd made a TikTok account, I think Sally nearly bloody died. She was like, "Oh my God, Mum," like that put us off, to be honest. So I didn't take that any further. But yes, Facebook. I have a little group, but I need to work on my group, and I'm putting things in place now to make it more like how I want it to be. Let's put it that way. But my Facebook page, I love it. It does go canny, I think.
I've just looked before we came on, and you've got, like, I know it's not about the followers, but like you have great engagement when people come on your page. And how long have you had that set up?
It's right from the start. As soon as I found my business name, I made a page. So we're going back a long time to 2010 to 2012, maybe something like that. And that's all.
And I think what a lot of our lasses do is they think it happens overnight.
Oh no!
And you do have to kind of do a bit of going through the motions, don't you? Of like, have I tapped into my right audience? Do people really get what I'm on about? It's all just about keep doing it and talking.
It is. You're right, completely right.
You also have connected, and I'm talking about this specifically, Julie, because I urge people who are listening to go and have a look at this. Julie's got an Etsy shop. It's just the one Etsy shop though, isn't it? Is it?
Yeah.
Which has got
it's got everything in, yeah.
And to me, what you do is Etsy's ideal client. You are Etsy's ideal client for handmade, really niched, and you don't have a website, do you?
I don't know. No, I've never felt the need.
This is good, right? Okay, because you hear all these lasses saying the fees are too high. I've got an Etsy shop, as you know. I don't find it a challenge, and websites are always going to come with their fees, the payments. Tell me about your experience with Etsy and how it helps your business.
Well, I started when I first started my business in inverted commas. I opened an Etsy shop, and to be honest, I didn't know what I was doing. I put 3 items. It's embarrassing when you look by, like, oh Lord. And it was like, I think I had about 3 items in there, and I sold one thing in 4 years. And so I thought, Etsy's a load of rubbish. And they're like, no. So what I did was I just took everything out of the shop and kept it.
Right.
And then as I developed, as I grew as a business as such, and sort of started finding my way, I thought, now I've got this product base, all my fairy doors and all of this sort of thing. I went back and rebooted it, and it really took off with me new things, because I knew more about myself, I knew more about my products, I knew how to put myself out there a little bit more. And I started getting sales. And
any training for anything, Julie?
No, nothing. But what I did was I looked at other people's Etsy shops, seeing successful shops, what did they do? And I always have said I was never going to be one of the top Etsy shops in the whole wide world, but I wanted it to work for me. So I had, at least some sales. And it started to pick up. I think it was 24, I can't remember the date. I'm rubbish with dates. And it really started to pick up. And then I had a big boom when the Pixie people were born. To be honest, it's like Mother Cabbage Patch. I made my first Pixie people frame, and people were like, oh, now I've seen nothing like this before. And I was really quite taken aback. People wanted to buy them, and on Etsy they've gone wild, and it has really been the making of my business.
Tell them what are these Pixie people frames? Explain.
Right. The best way to describe, tell you the first one I made. I've got a best friend who we've been friends since we were 7. We've gone through life together. We had our kids. Really weird. Never planned that way, but we live around the corner from each other.
How nice is that though?
Oh, honestly, we're still best friends to this very day. We're godparents to each other's kids. It is a fabulous, she's more like a sister. And I wanted to give her something special for her birthday, and I didn't have a lot of money. But I wanted something really, really significant and important to catalogue all of our times together. So I made little doll versions of me and her. Well, one had black hair like mine, and one had very curly brown hair, and dressed them in little dresses. And what I did was I wrote down all of our epic moments and put them in writing on the back as a background. And it was all completely mental things, like we used to get the 10 to 7 bus into Durham on a Saturday night and go to the Manhattan bar and drink vodka and limes until we couldn't get any more glasses on the table. Little daft things, that in jokes that only me and her knew, and put them on the back, put the 2 figures on it and framed it. And when I put the photograph of that out there, people were like, I would love one of those. Can you do me and my friend? And then they were sending us the list of their memories. So every one that I made was unique to them. And it just blew up from there. Well, blew up for me, what I would consider it, and it's really become the backbone of my business, to be honest. Are you all right? Choking.
Was I trying not to...
You all right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how it started with that. Yeah.
And the lush, and I tell you which ones I love, and it's the ones where you're representing the business.
I love it. Yeah.
Do people use them in I suppose product shots, don't they, with the little...
Well, I do the little mascot type ones. Yeah. So like my little one here, guess what, she's got all black on, and try and find the camera, she's got black and she's got the hair.
If you're not watching, Julie's showing a little... How big are they, would you say?
Where's the ruler?
Let's get the ruler out.
Maths is not my thing. I can't estimate anything. They're about 8 centimeters tall. Little bendy dolls, and they've got a very simple face, a bit like me, and the detail in them is in the style of their hair and their clothes. That's how I personalize them. And so people will send me photographs, and I love doing the business ones. They'll send us their uniform, the work gear. I've made them, and people use them as photo props for their social media. And but I also put them in frames, and there's people who've got them in the foyer at work, on the desk. Hairdressers have got them in the salon, things like that, with the logo in the background and them in the front.
Fabulous. Everyone, get yourself on to Julie's Etsy shop, because you won't come off it. So there you go. Well, Julie, let's talk about the lounge.
Oh,
So I've just checked, and do you know when you joined? Can you remember?
yeah, can it? I feel like I've always been there.
I know. August the 30th, 2020. Almost 2 years were coming up.
Wow.
Crazy, isn't it? How quickly that happened. And I cannot remember if you were in the mushroom group first or you came in there. I don't know.
No, I came into the lounge.
I just remember going, shit's right up my street.
It's about time I found somebody who said that about us.
Just from like when we talked and we messaged each other loads, haven't we, about like our interests, our creative brains, what we're inspired by, and we just had so much that resonated with each other, wasn't it?
Really, yeah.
So we're going to talk about the lounge, and have you had any experience of networking or business forums before or anything like that? Have you been anything like that?
I'd sort of, people had sort of like recommended things to me, and I'd had a little bit of a look, but nothing that hooked me or really engaged me or made me feel part of something. That I guess with not working, that was what I was searching for, you know, like feeling like I had a staff room somewhere and colleagues, and other places. They just want, to be honest with you, Kylie, I felt these are the other places, all they wanted to do was take money off you, and they weren't bothered about you as a person. They couldn't give two hoots what you did or how you developed yourself. Just blindly follow, you know. Oh, I'm putting this training out there. You need it in your life, and actually, it didn't speak to me. And there was nowhere where I felt like a personal sort of connection. So I wasn't, if I couldn't trust them personally, how would I trust them with developing my business? You know what I mean?
So why do you think it works in the lounge?
Oh,
like
no.
What is it that's different?
Oh, do you know, for the first time, I actually feel part of something.
This is where I get goosebumps and I never know what to say.
Do you know what? When I explain it to other people, you know, it's like, and I realise like how important it's become to me. When I first dipped into it, it was actually my mate Nikki Barron who'd invited us to it, and you know, people invited us stuff. So I thought, oh, I'll have a look at this, and it was just from the get-go. I think for a start, people were from my neck of the woods. I'm like yourself, I'm very fierce protector of the fact that I'm a Pit Village girl. Very fierce. I mean, my granddad went down the pit. My village wouldn't be here if it hadn't been for the pit. So I certainly am not ashamed of where I come from. And people were just ordinary people. They weren't pretending that they were, you know, going to be the next big thing. They weren't pretending that they knew everything and made you feel crap. I felt like I actually was going in somewhere where everyone was on the same level, but people's expertise was coming in from different directions for the benefit of everybody. People were genuinely friendly and interested in you as a person. And the unique thing I very quickly noticed was the interest, that fact that people there were interested in you as a person and developing you as a person, which in turn will develop you in your business. Not taking money off you, telling you needed to do a course that would solve your life. It was about you sorting yourself out as a person, you being, you know, in control of who you are, and the rest will follow, which I found heartwarming and friendly, and lots of people who were actually around on social media at the same time of day as me, because I didn't have like regular working hours as such. So it just became very, very quickly part of my life. And actually it's my first port of call for things now. It's I feel like I've found a place. I really have. Honestly, it's awesome, because when when you've like been working somewhere, like being a nurse, and you have a group of colleagues around you and you talk about stuff together, that's your sort of debrief time, you know. And the same in teaching, the staff room, you go and you complain about something to your colleagues and you all whinge about it, and the solidarity. And I'd lost that. I haven't had that for years until I found the lounge. And it's lovely.
I can't believe when people start talking about it, because I'm just sharing what I've done.
But it's magic. It really is a magic place.
And yes, I've picked up skills along the way, 100%. Like, and I've got a very strategic mindset, and that's how I'm able to create these bespoke trainings and you know, and think that way. And not everyone has that kind of mindset. But at the end of the day, me and the lasses in the team around us and everybody who's in there, I suppose, you're all just cheerleading each other.
Oh my God, that comes across. That is the strongest element, and it's the genuine caring that you feel from being part of it. You don't feel an idiot for speaking up. You don't feel that you are not valid by dropping your opinion in, because you could, you know, this, and it's, I tell you what, one of the biggest things is it's not cliquey, and the amount of room, man, you can tell who's the in crowd on them, and it's like, I've never been in the in crowd. I've always been the one who was left out. So I certainly would avoid places like that, like the plague, you know, and just feel like part of it and warm and welcomed. You know, it's magic. It's been an absolute godsend for me. That's honest truth.
That's amazing. So I am very, very proud of something that happened, because I saw it firsthand, and I know you won't mind us talking about it. And I think this will help a lot of people, and it already has. So we had our face-to-face events. We had one at Christmas and we had one recently where we meet up. So everyone who's listening, we try and meet up every quarter at least once face-to-face, because we know that it's, you know, it's a different atmosphere altogether to what it is online. And I think I had a book signing here. That's where I first met you, when you came over.
Yeah, it is.
Because you've talked about your anxiety and your agoraphobia. I nearly fell off my chair when you turned up. I was like, oh my God, she's gone out of her way to come here. And at that time, because I was so preoccupied in what I was doing, I don't think I appreciated how much of an impact that had on you at the time. So it wasn't until the Christmas meetup when I saw, like, if anyone hasn't seen somebody who is shaking with fear because of the situation, then I don't think you fully really understand what agoraphobia and anxiety is about. So what, I suppose, tell us the impact that it has, thinking about going to those, but how you came over it and why you found it, why you decided that was a place you had to go.
The agoraphobia started because of when I lost my job, when I felt like a complete failure, when I didn't have a job anymore, because I'd gone to the shop and somebody who I knew from the village was in there. It was a Wilkinson's shop, you know, and in the middle of the aisle, she stopped and asked us where I was working. And I burst into tears in the shop, and she wouldn't try to get away, and she wouldn't let us get away. And like, and then the more she fussed, the more people were looking, and it came from there. I didn't want to go out because I was frightened in case somebody said something to me, and then my reaction, and it built from there. And my agoraphobia, people think agoraphobia is just that you don't want to leave the house. It's very different to that. For me, I don't like going anywhere by myself. I do leave the house, I just don't choose to. Everybody has different severities, but I always have to have somebody with me, like as a comfort blanket, to know that I'm all right, to steer us in the right direction. Then if I start to panic, they are there to help me diffuse that situation myself. Now, I rarely go anywhere by myself. There's very few places that I like to go, but by myself I'll go to my hairdressers. And that is basically it. I would go to my mum and dad's by myself. I'd go to Paula's by myself. That's my best mate. But that's about it. Everywhere else, I've got to have somebody with us. And what happened was with the lounge, because I made such a deep connection with yourself and with so many people, from talking and like just daft carry on, because I find that really important. Chatting and mutual interests and things like that. I really felt like, I need to meet these people in real life, so that they're not just somebody I've met online, that they are actually, that I've made a sort of proper connection, like a friendship connection, because that's a part of my life that I really feel I'm missing out on. And I'd said to my husband, I said, I want to go when Kylie does a book signing, I want to go and meet, and I feel like we sing from the same song sheet, and she's as daft, she's worse than me for being, and I really felt strongly about that. And when I came through, I was nervous wreck coming through, but because it was quiet, there was people coming in and out, and I bumped into Sarah Ball, and Holly was there as well, and these were people who I'd already chatted to, and it was lovely to see them. And so I got a positive feeling from coming. So the response I got from that scary moment, I had a massive payoff, because I saw you and Alexa and some of the other girls. But when the Christmas meetup, when I saw it first, my first reaction was, oh no, I'm not going to go. And
was that because of the size of people, like the volume of people going?
Yes, it is. It's to do with, I find it really difficult where there's a lot of people. I get very overwhelmed, and all of the anxieties just click in, like, people are going to think I look stupid, people are going to think this, they're going to think that. And, it doesn't matter how many times I tell myself, what are the people thinking about you? Isn't your business, Julie? It's still, it goes round and round in my head. But because everybody was like talking about it, and because everyone was so lovely, I thought, well, I'm going to buy a ticket, and then if I feel like I can go, I'm going to go. But if I feel like I can't, then I can't, not to put too much pressure on myself. But as it got nearer and nearer, I spoke out about being worried about going, and people were supportive. And I remember Angela Maverick messaged us, and she was awesome, and she really tipped it for us. And I thought, right, somebody can like be that kind to realise and appreciate how you feel, then do it. And I sat outside in the car, and I was so nervous about coming in. But I did. I walked in, it was dead busy, I can remember. And I made a beeline for the back. And it was Sasha. It was lovely to see her on your Facebook yesterday. Sasha intercepted us and sort of swept us up and made us feel really safe. It turned out being, even though I didn't go out and mix into the main room, it turned out being a massive positive, because I met face-to-face so many people, but I made connections there that have turned into real friendships. Berenice and Kate. Me, Berenice and Kate were out in the back, like scuttling around in the back. And so when the next meetup came round, we messaged each other and we went in together. And it was lovely.
And you were so much more relaxed. I'm not saying that it was completely gone, but you were so much more relaxed, because I think we had that kind of group going and sit with it. It's just, it makes us, how proud I am of that. That is probably more impactful than anything that we do, is how it's just amazing. It's amazing to hear. And that will help so many people.
But it's kudos to the whole ethos that you have, yourself as a person and your team. It's just that welcoming, it's like a warm embrace. And the business side of it, this is the unique thing. It totally harnesses the development of the person in their, and how they feel as themselves, because you can't have a good business if you yourself aren't feeling safe and secure. How can you build, something when a lot of it comes back on you? You need to build your own confidence, your own, find your own self before you can start putting that into a business to make it successful. And that's the key. Mm-hmm.
Lush. Well, talking about the team, we're going to get to this part of the podcast. I really need a jingle for this, right? I'm gutted that someone hasn't gone, I'll make you a jingle. So this is the part of the show that is called Why I Lass. So the team ask our guests specific questions, so they know who I'm interviewing. So Julie, the team have questions in there. I'm not sure what they're asking yet. I don't know what I'm going to pick out. Is there anyone who you'd rather have than not?
No, there's nothing phases me.
Right. So this is from Phelpsy.
Oh.
She says, Julie, you love all things magical. Oh, this is a good one. If you could make one spell come true, what would it be and why?
Oh, just one. This is really pathetic. The spell that I would have would be that I could actually communicate with my dog and know exactly what she was thinking. I know that sounds really pathetic, and yes, hands up, I'm a crazy dog lady, but I got the kids laugh at us all the time because they say I love the dog more than them, but she's nicer to us than they are. But I would love to be able to talk to animals like Eliza Thornberry, that sort of thing. I would absolutely, that would be the pinnacle for me. But nobody else to be, just me.
You do just talk to them anyway.
I do. I mean, probably no wonder everything's mad when it comes in here because I talk it to death. Yeah, but I would love to be able to for Lizzie to be able to say to me exactly what she was thinking. It probably would break me heart. I don't really want to do that.
Mint. Thank you, Phelpsy. Another legendary question from you. Right then, well, that kind of concludes everything, Julie. What a lush chat.
Oh.
Honestly, it's been amazing. Thank you for your being open and honest, because that's very, very key. It is. Because people listening will take something away from it. They will. 100%.
Well, with mental health, one of the most important things is realizing that you can speak out about it without feeling fear, and that we're only going to be stronger about mental health issues if more people are brave enough to talk about them. Yeah.
I'm going to end it with one last question. What's next for you, Julie? What are you working on now, and what's next?
You know what I'm working on. I was like,
you ask her, and I went, I'm going to ask her. It's tough. I've asked you now.
I'm writing a book. That sounds, I think, do you know, I used to think that sounded really pretentious saying that, but you all, so many of you have done the same thing, and it actually isn't pretentious. It's actually something I've always wanted to do from being a little kid. The one thing I was good at was writing stories, and I'm writing a book, a children's book, chapters, and it's called The Explorers, and it's about two children and their dog, of course, and it's got magic, it's got a bit of time travel, it's got a bit of everything in adventure, and I'm really excited about it. It's been on a bit of a go slow because I hadn't been too grand. So as I say, I just put it aside for now, but it's definitely growing and getting bigger.
Excited.
Yes. I'm very excited by it, and see where it could go. And even if it doesn't become anything published, then I'll know myself that I've done it, because it's something I've always wanted to do. Yeah.
And where is the best place for anyone listening to come? We've mentioned your Etsy shop. Is it Oh Gosh How Pretty on Facebook? I've
got on Facebook, I've got Oh Gosh How Pretty. I also have Pixie People Frames page, and I have a group called Little Extra Magic, and it's basically where I look for magic in everyday situations, because that's something I find important myself in my mental health. It's always looking for the positives and that little bit of magic, and it doesn't have to be anything big, it could be something small. And my Etsy shop is search for Oh Gosh How Pretty, and you'll see my logo with all the flowery leafy garland on.
Great.
And that is
I'm going to
me.
pop this all in the episode notes when it's uploaded. So thank you so much. And I'll see you in the lounge. You certainly will. Thanks, darling. Bye.